land acquisition meeting to order for Tuesday, November 15, 2016 at 6 p.m. Did anybody have a chance to review the minutes? I'm not going to lie.
I don't want it.
I've reviewed the minutes. There's an error on number 11 on the agenda. And it was addenda, and it's been changed. It's agency, that was pointed out to me, so correct. In the minutes of the previous meeting, the second page of the minutes down on review and approve ratification of groundwater storage tanks, it appears that after Alderman K. Hall seconded, and it says send, so we need to change that to second. And then on the last page of the minutes, second to last paragraph, Alderman Persick seconded to approve the motion. It says the approve the motion, so let's change that to 2. And then they look good to me, so I'll be back for those. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with the corrections. Can I get a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, minutes are done. Okay, first, number 3 on the agenda, review accounting reports presented by city accountant. Kim, what do you got?
Okay, so we have the check register for tonight for approval from council. I'd just like to point out the big item on here is there's the 6-month payment for the wastewater treatment plant loan of $451,056.86. I would also like to point out on page 29 of the section 1 of the council packet, the debt service fund payment of $149,692.14. That's paying the rollover bond back from 2015 series. And lastly, in the capital project fund, the majority of those payments are IDOT projects that are going on. 2 of which are Arsenal Road and 53, and all of those are engineering fees there. Just to point those out. Moving on to the next page is the collector's report for the month ended October 31st. There's nothing there, I think, that really needs explanation. Moving forward to the next section of reports is the year-to-date summaries of revenue and expenditures. And there again, one thing I do need to point out there is there was a big shift in the capital project fund, which is Fund 24. You'll see the revenues for the period were $2.2 million. And that was the payment, the state paid 95% of the construction costs for the Arsenal 53 project that's undergoing now. Other than that, it's just basically the other statements going through just to give your year-to-date amounts. And this is the 6-month period, so we would anticipate expenses to be about 50% through. However, revenues and expenditures do not come in evenly divisible by 12, so there will be some fluctuations due to timing. Anybody have any questions on any of the financials that you may or may not have had time to review?
Any questions? Thank you, Kim. Let's move on to review tentative 2016 tax levy. It is the only thing in there, isn't it?
Last page, page 7.
Yeah.
The tax levy, Mayor Orr announced last meeting that we were placing it on file for public inspection. Basically, this is the preliminary request of $1,097,000 in our real estate tax levy. a lot of what we levy is based on the Consumer Price Index as dictated by the Illinois Department of Revenue. So this year's CPI is only 0.7%, which is bare bones minimum. It's really a low CPI. You notice the amount that our extended levy was last year was $1,074,000. This year I'm only requesting $1,097,000. We factor in for some new property and we back out some abatements. It's an estimate. We will not need to have a truth in taxation public hearing. We're not going to exceed 5% of the extended levy. It's a very small amount of increase that we're requesting for this year's tax levy. And basically the distribution is pretty similar to last year. I did increase the amount of the police pension request. The police pension board gives me a formal request to what they would like to see contributed into their police pension fund. For the last few years that I've been here, I've been trying to increase that amount because we have to fund the police pension fund, but additionally, their funding amount was at 58% last year. And this current year that just ended, it dropped down to 55%. The goal is to keep increasing their funding amount. However, they had some drawdowns come out of that. So as we're trying to increase the funding, we're having officers retire, disability, what have you, so they're starting to pull out. But the goal is to keep increasing that funding level. So I'm trying to get them to the point where they're funded about the same amount is funded for our pensions.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you again. Okay, let's move on to review and approve the 15th Amendment to the Ridgeport, to the redevelopment agreement by and among the City of Wilmington and Dara Ridgeport Industrial Partners, LLC, and Ridgeport Partners 2, LLC, and Memorandum of Understanding, reference page 64, section 1, City Council package.
Yeah, Attorney Nemick had another agreement tonight. This was talked about a couple meetings ago.
Public hearing was last meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, we didn't have any public hearing on this. This is the amendment, the TIF, we have a public hearing coming up. What we're doing on the 15th Amendment is, as we said before, it's a pay-as-you-go TIF process over in Ridgeport. So when they generate enough funds, then they assign those funds to the tenants or new owners. And where we're at now is we're up to approximately in expenditures out there, we're starting to get close to that 90 million mark. And in the original agreement we had was 100 million for pay-as-you-go. So the TIF consultant has reviewed, along with the attorneys and ourselves, we think an appropriate next phase for any type of TIF assignment should go up to about 140 million. So what this amendment is to raise that cap from 100 million to 140 million. And all this is doing is giving the ability for the owners to be able to use the TIF dollars as they have been using to assign or transfer the TIF increments that are coming in back to the users. Without raising the cap, they can't do that. So literally, if you don't raise the cap, the owners get to keep the TIF money if they generate it. And that wasn't the purpose we had with this project. We're doing as a performance base, and now we're starting to see finally after 6 million square feet will be done by the end of next year. It's appropriate time now to start raising the cap. So while they attract new tenants coming in, they'll be able to offer TIF incentives to those new tenants. So tonight, it's we're raising that from 100 to 140 million. In the original agreement, 256 million was in the original agreement, was the budget, and nobody wanted to give them 256 million without having it before. So now that they perform, we'll raise a little bit, and then you might come back.
They've been using that as a marketing tool anyway to attract the business. And
correct.
I guess what's been very beneficial to them.
That's why we have so many amendments. Probably about 7 of those amendments have been TIF assignments to new users coming in. So, and then the MOU, what that is doing is, that was recommended after the new owners took over, getting all the TIF agreements where we have all the assignments outlined. The TIF consultant, Mike Weber from PGAV, recommended, so that Kim is the accountant, and along with the city council, we sort of put everything in one document that has an understanding of what all these TIF assignments have been done, how they're basically given to each entity. And at this point, it's just basically, it's taken all those documents and put them in a memorandum of understanding that we all agree this is how the process is going to work. The key component of the MOU is really going to help out Kim and help out PGAV when, like Michelin right now, they pay their taxes. They're asking for those taxes to be reimbursed through the TIF assignment. In the original agreement, it had language in there about that we don't have to release it until we receive them all, we certify it, there's been no discrepancies, and ultimately, the city council has to approve that. So what we've done is we put that into this memorandum, so everybody really understands it. Because in the agreement, it just basically said the TIF dollars can be allocated and redistributed by March 15th. Didn't say much about that. So we wanted to put language out there so everybody would understand, so that if there is an appeal, we're not releasing any funds while the appeal's going on. So this way the user understands that. If they want to appeal their taxes, then we're not releasing any of the assignment to them until the appeal is done. So that's getting put into all this language now, so that when I'm not here for one, but somebody else is here, who's ever here, understands it. So that when the TIF funds get ready to be released, there's a process. And even the tenants are appreciative of this, because they keep asking, we paid our taxes, when do we get our reimbursements? And we said, as soon as we set up the process, we'll let you know. We have till March 15th. So this sort of sets that all up. So the only thing I would be asking is that I do want to have a legal review, as we always say with these, because there was one thing in there that we wanted to pull out, is in the original agreement, it talked about that they may ask for a bond. You know, we never said we would ever give them a TIF bond, but during the beginning we said we don't know, and they asked for it to be in there. So we're removing that language through the amendment, so there won't be any, they won't be able to ask for a TIF bond. It's a pay-as-you-go type of process. So we threw that back at them last week. We didn't get a response back saying they're okay with it. Normally I got a response saying everything's okay. So I just want to have legal review before we approve it, as we always do. Then we ask the mayor to execute once all the attorneys have reviewed it. So I think we're ready to approve it tonight. I think there's everybody's gone through it and feel comfortable with the way it sits now.
Anybody have any other questions about the approval of the 15th Amendment? Let's move on. Review and approve finance options for the Westcom members for StarCom 21 radio project, and that's on page 86 of section 1.
There was discussion at the committee level where it's just starting to get, we can do a buyout or we can lease. I don't believe we don't have the lease finance agreement yet. Chief, are you here?
Yes, Mayor.
So what are you requesting? You're requesting the lease, right?
I think the lease would be the best way to do it, spreads our payments out. I know that someone's going to look into what the finance numbers were, if it was a good deal or not.
And the first lease payment is in 2 years from now?
And deferred for 2 years, right?
So are we looking for approval tonight or just discussion? You don't have an agreement yet, do you?
Well, let's, I mean, Kim, if you had an opportunity to kind of work through the numbers, yeah, if not, I mean, I'd just rather just.
I do have the motion for approval.
Okay. Let me,
Okay. Are we ready for a motion for approval?
yeah, so,
Well, I've looked through the numbers, and I've got the more specific on the terms. It's a 7-year lease, it's payable over 6 annual payments, and they're deferring interest for 2 years, so it takes the interest rate from 2% down to like 0.18%. Okay. This whole component of this equipment, I would prefer if we could hold off, possibly till the next meeting. I'd like to do some more projections of other revenues. The 2% isn't huge, but it's not just equipment. There's also going to be additional annual fees associated with this process. There's going to be a site fee and an airtime fee. And I think we should really explore that and look at that in depth to make sure that that we're making the right choice on that, and that the equipment that they're suggesting is truly the appropriate equipment. I think it is for our police department, or as the department, there's still some questions. And I reviewed it with Dennis.
Well, what I'd suggest is sit down with Chief and Dennis, and then we'll have this at the first meeting in December. I think we'll probably.
What's the timing,
Mayor, I
Chief?
believe it has to be done November for this.
That's what I remember from.
We have to commit to
Yes,
the financing method.
we have to commit to the purchase.
Well, then they got X amount of days yet before November's done to get the numbers that you need, correct?
I believe they've given us the number.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dennis had a question on a couple. There was a couple of units that he thought, he was basing it on their recommendation, not necessarily his own recommendation, and it's a minimum of like 1 or 2 units. It wasn't a huge discrepancy. Like I said, and realistically, I think we as a city would be better off to go with the financing option.
and there's a buyout in there. If we want to buy them later, we can't. You're not locking into that finance.
Right, you can buy out at any time.
So tonight, what we're looking for is just to go ahead with the finance. I would recommend go ahead with the finance. The fees that Kim's talking about, those fees are going to be there. That's just part of the operations. We have to pay for airtime, we have to pay for the warranties, or maintenance. So those fees aren't going to go our
Those are built into our Westcom fees anyway, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a possibility they're going to roll that into the annual fee.
Chief, I didn't hear what you said.
Yes, they were gonna roll those into our Westcom fees.
Yep.
Is the interest annual, 2% annually,
It,
compound or no?
they're saying it's over 7 years.
Oh, it's 2%, so it's 2% over 7 years.
Over 7 years, but they're saying the first 2 years are deferred.
Deferred, there's no interest.
So it reduces that interest rate from 2% down to 0.18.
So even though let's say we're getting interest free the first 2 years, and the opportunity presents itself where we can just purchase outright, we still have that option without any type of penalty or anything else like that. So
Yeah.
it still serves us. 'Cause I know that's one thing Kim Minnie was talking about, is looking at the possibility of forgoing the lease and just buying them outright. Maybe, and this gives us that 2-year window to work towards that.
Yeah, because one of the things that they're saying is if we would be actually leasing the equipment through Westcom. Westcom, with all of the members right now
Correct.
that are in Westcom, will be financing that through, I believe it was Motorola, whatever the company was. But we would be leasing it through Westcom. They need the commitment from us.
Right.
And basically, they'll collect the money from us over a period of a year and then make that first lease payment. So if we wanted to buy it outright, we could make that
Chief,
into
have you got any quotes from the other chiefs? And how many we got going into this program, do we know?
I believe they're all going.
All of them?
Usually not so
So we
much
got like,
option.
what, 22 or something like that?
Yes.
There's 22.
There's
Yeah, this
two
is, there
agencies
are
that
options.
went into a different program last year with the county,
Right.
that right now they're not sure if they're gonna switch or not. Their radios would be able to be used on the Starcom network with some work. So last I heard from them, they are still up in the air. They're not on a frequency though, so it doesn't really matter to us, but that's Lockport and Crest Hill. But every other agency is going to be doing it, so. They don't have an option because the VHS system is not going to be functional anymore.
Right.
Correct. Well, this is a much better system anyway, especially for you guys to communicate. It's
Right.
tremendous. What about, in relation, have you heard from other chiefs whether they all look at the lease purchase program or just the leasing program? Is that what they're going for?
It's split about 50-50. Some are going to buy outright and some are going to lease.
Yeah, I'd recommend a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement for lease, and then the actual purchase of the radios. That could be contingent on a final review with Dennis and the chief. If we, reducing it by 1 radio, 2 radios, it'll just reduce our costs.
Right.
And this motion is pending final city staff review.
Okay, then you're,
So we're
So
fine.
yeah.
Yeah, that was what I was going to suggest, so.
it's already in here.
Okay.
All right, very good. Any other questions about that?
Committee got to move it on to the,
Can I get a motion to send the approval of the finance option for Westcom members, Starcom 21, to the full council for approval?
Here.
Got a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Let's move on. Review and approve to waive the filing deadline and approve abatement certificates for United States Cold Storage.
Yeah.
Page 89.
Yeah, Attorney Irvin's been working with U.S. Cold Storage as consultant in regards to the taxes. And they missed a small window in the agreement. They were supposed to provide the certificate to us within 365 days. I think we're about a month, over 30 days, and or a little longer.
Yeah, a little bit longer.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead, John.
there's two separate, right now, cold storage is getting an abatement pursuant to the first phase. And the agreement provided that they had to, for each additional phase, once they got a certificate of occupancy, they had to notify the city within 365 days that they received it and file the abatement certificate that's in the packet with the city. And then the city would forward a certificate on to the county clerk to abate taxes. Well, there was a provision in there that they have 365 days to do that, and they didn't do that, so we're looking for the council to go ahead and approve waiving their deadline so that they could get the abatements for phase 2 and phase 3.
It has no effect on their next deadline for the next one.
That's just the last 2 and 3 phases, phase 2 and phase 3.
So it's together.
So once the certificate is filed, then the county will recognize the 5-year abatement, and doesn't have to be filed every year. So,
Are we doing this as a favor to cold storage, to be a nice neighbor?
yes and no. What basically came down to is the county is looking at the abatement process. We agreed to abate taxes along with the county. They agreed to abate taxes too for U.S. Cold Storage along with the school district. But the way our annexation agreement actually said, they had to get the certificate approved within 365 days. So it's really a technical thing for them to stamp the abatement. They needed to have us sign off on it. And we had no problem having the mayor sign it. He did the first one. He didn't even have to come to city council because they did that. But really to give corporate authority, it really needs to be corporate authority.
They exceeded the 365.
They exceeded 365. The agreement said we're going to do this. So basically, to allow the mayor to sign it, the recommendation is for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign this beyond the 365. It is a little bit of a, if you want to say, we're just just keeping our word that they missed that deadline. And part of it is, I think a lot of it is the understanding of the process. I don't think their tax people understood it. Because they got it the first time, they thought that was for everything. And now they figured out when the county didn't do it, then they called and said, how do we get this done? So, John worked with them and showed them how to do it. So I would recommend approval to allow the mayor to execute the certificate.
Any other questions about it? Looking for a motion to approve the waive the filing deadline and approve the abatement certificate for United States Cold Storage. Sending full council for approval.
Make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's move
Thank you.
on. Review and approve the retirement agreement among the city of Wilmington for Gary Van Dyne.
Yeah, the agreement that's in front of you is regarding
Page 96.
Last 2 pages, we got to back it over.
As we well know, in executive session, you can't approve anything, so it has to come to public action. So this is what's been agreed upon. Gary is willing to give us notice that February 28th will be his last day of work for retirement. With Superintendent Van Dyne, we're asking for an agreement, just like he's done with other retirees, to put in place. And this was everything we talked about, and staff-wise and with Gary, along with the mayor, we agreed to pay his hospitalization until his 65th birthday or Medicare kicks in. And that was just single, not family. And then that's the only health benefit that he'll receive. There will be no retirement health insurance with this agreement, like we've seen in others. And then the payout of his leave time as Some of it is going into service credits, and some of it is actually payout. So, as having this early notice, it will help, because we'll have further discussion in our personnel committee of what's going to be the next step to bring somebody in to sort of take over. Get time now for Gary to be able to work with the engineer and possibly the future supervisor.
Until February.
February 28th.
Give us a little bit of time, but I think it eases his mind as well when I spoke with him. He's not leaving right away, but he's structured himself, and we all know what a tremendous asset he is to the city. Has been for many years, but he's going to continue to do that until the end of February. But that's why we looked at this.
We discussed this, as Tony said, in closed session. Does anybody have any other questions about the agreement? Okay, looking for a motion to approve the retirement agreement on the city of Wilmington and Gary McDonough. Second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The next one, I put it on the agenda, but you might want to have further discussion. I mean, it's what was presented in the executive session, but I think there might have been a little more dialogue that we need or don't need, in regards to what you have in front of you. So.
Perfect place to debate it. Colby's here.
Yeah.
We got any
What it says is, we go over a few of the high points if you wanted. It's a 5-year, it's a renewal of his current contract, which is 5 years, which expired in August. What's in the agreement is his salary, and then he had an increase for every year, and I believe it was 2%. And then we increased his car allowance by $25, and I think that was a lot of the reasons for that is that's now a taxable benefit. So when we first approved it, you know, he was getting, you know, the full amount, now he gets taxes taken out of it, so I think that was a fair increase. He asked for $4,400, he compromised at $375. He did ask for, since he's under an agreement for his vacation time, he's asking for to increase that 1 day for every year of service in this agreement. So by the time he's done, he gets another 5 days, which he would be at the 10-year mark. Anyway, he would have that, so he earns them 1 day at a time. I thought that was a nice, innovative way of adding sort of a non-dollar amount per se, but give him an opportunity to earn some extra vacation time to get up to his 4 weeks by the time he's done. The language, we cleaned up the language in regards to, he was getting some gas allowance. So that's sort of what's put into this agreement as we give him a memorandum to him. And I think that was it, right?
Just one more personal day.
Oh yeah, there was, he asked for 1 more personal day. He added, he's only gets 3 and there was going to 4.
Tony, you said his vehicle allowance is $375 is what he's asking for?
He's asking for 400.
Yeah.
And it's going to, still 400. Oh, it's still 400 in here?
Yeah, that was my question.
How did it?
I was never told about it.
Okay, it's going to happen. I could have not told you. A lot of meetings been going on. 375 is what we're recommending. So,
Yeah, I think that was the areas.
I think everybody recommended it in the meeting. Nice try, Cody. I think I give the guy credit. He's never going to give up.
Is there any change in the insurance?
Oh yes, when the original agreement, remember we rolled over, he was getting, we're paying for his Cobra, so that he could transition into his insurance because the way our insurance was set up back then. So now he's on our insurance policy. So he pays like all the other employees, pay 15% for any union plans. That's still.
There's nothing different, just the Cobra came up.
Right, you still pay for your dental and.
And that's
vision.
single or family, Colby? Family?
Yeah, and then they pay for their dental and any vision.
I know. You probably.
Sorry about that. Under your vacation and sick days, you're looking for your birthday plus 4 days, so you're looking for 5 personal days?
Yeah, right now it's 3 plus my birthday. So now you want, yeah, if it's five personal days, however you guys do this now with the birthday thing. Right now I get 3 plus my birthday, so it's 4.
So you get 4, yeah.
So it's, I'm adding 1 more, so
So
if
you want
you want to call my birthday a
you want
personal day,
5.
it's 5.
What's the union contract for personal days?
3 plus the birthday, 4.
Well, you took the birthday out, is
Yeah, now it just says
so
4.
it's 4. The one that I will add to this is, as part of this agreement too, the new rules that are going in with the Federal Labor Standard Act that goes in December 1st, all salaried employees and exempt employees that are making over $49,000, which definitely he is. There is now, a salaried employee doesn't get any other type of benefit for overtime pay or anything in regards to that. So, not that he did in the past, but yeah, this really fits all the exempt category professional services. So, adding another day, I can tell you, I know you guys see texts on the weekend, because you'll text me and I send over to Kobe and they'll text back. So, he's usually on 24/7. And he has come out at night under and water main projects, things like that. So, he comes back to
Can I ask, do we typically, for our non-union employees, do we guarantee a minimum raise for any of our non-union employees now? Do we know?
No, there's,
No.
We tried to set that up, but council failed to do that.
It's what's unique about this is typically with engineering, you tend to have contractual agreements with engineering and city administrators, where most of the others there's really no contract written. There's no written contracts with any of the department heads or any of the non-union staff, so that's where you tend not to see typically that type of built into contractual agreement. Where you don't see it with our other employees, because none of them really have a contractual employment. They're considered employees at will, or a contractual employment offers some, contractual agreement offers some protection.
Can I ask, make a comment, I guess, regarding Section 8, the professional advancement for conferences, seminars, and expenses? Effective March 1st, 2017, there is a new public act that will have to kind of tie into this in some way.
Right.
So I don't know if this needs to have a contingency statement, like contingent upon this being built into our adoption of that act.
Well, I don't think it will now, because I think we still got to put all that stuff together. Like I said, we do recognize the fact that the contingency of what the statute is going to change to. I think if that happens, what we have to do is make an addendum to the agreement with Colby if there's any type of legal stuff that needs to be changed to his contract. At that time, I know, because I think we actually have to start budgeting how much is going to be expenditure for travel, and that goes not only just with engineering, but with the entire department heads and departments and personnel and everything else. So, yeah, that's something that.
yeah, and to tell you the truth, when you pass that ordinance is only setting up reimbursement costs for travel. The way his agreement is, it's more process for him to be able to attend.
That's why I don't think it's necessary to change the agreement. I think if when we make that ordinance, if it becomes necessary, then we'll change it then.
Yeah, that's the point.
Does anybody want to have any further debate over what Colby has asked for in this agreement?
I know you do a wonderful job, and I appreciate everything that you have done, and I don't, and I just, this 2% per year, I think it should be performance-based, and I know that you do a great job and you shouldn't have a problem meeting that performance. I would just like to see that personally eliminated from your contract. It's up to all the council.
So do we want to send this to, back to,
I don't have a problem, we could wait, but what I'd ask for is that, like Joe just brought this up, that at least give us time to look at it and give time for Colby to put a response back before the next meeting so we can have those answers.
we want to continue?
Outside of that, that's the only thing I've heard. I hadn't heard anything in the previous 2 weeks when we discussed this before, other than one of the concerns that was raised at the executive session. So that's why it's on here. Nothing was raised, nothing was, no issues were brought forward. So if you want to, then that's fine.
We can just get an opinion from council too, and just go forward. I mean,
Well,
that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, one thing you could add, normally what you see in these, I mean, this is an automatic raise no matter what, the way it's written. If you want to put language in there that says contingent on approval by the city council and its performance, you could add that sentence. That way it's not really automatic, it's still going to be approved by the council. That'll give you a chance to look over his performance. I think what Cole was looking for is there were years where there was nothing, and this way he's at least got 2% on the table, and you want to look at that to approve. That's not unusual in a lot of contracts that I've seen, to where...
Let's go ahead and we'll get together and try to read a couple scenarios in regards to the 2%. To address that situation. Sometimes it's challenging to do performance reviews, so, without having definitive guidelines ahead of schedule or ahead of time. But at the same time, I think, what Tony mentioned, to put some type of disclaimer in there as it relates to the 2%, I think could work. I'll see what we can do. So if you guys want to hold off to the next council meeting, please, if you guys have any concerns, shoot me an email or call me or something, so I can get with Colby.
Do we want to make a motion to defer this to the next meeting?
I don't think you need to really make a motion at all. It's just on here. It's just you having just reviewing it. You've chosen not to approve until the next meeting. So,
everybody okay with that?
We're still paying them right now, right?
They still get paid.
Gas can.
All right, let's move on. Number 10, review and approve West Side Sub-Area Study Proposal as submitted by Shoppy Design Associates Incorporated. And that's page 8 section.
Yeah, what you have in front of you is, we had that presentation of Planning Commission and City Council, and this is the scope of work that came out of that presentation. They had met with Gillingham Partners and GAR for the Ridgeport. This sub-area is truly the I-55 west area for the Ridgeport logistics. They've agreed to pay for professional services for this, to keep this thing moving forward, because the master plan they have to update anyway. So tonight, what we'll be looking for is for the City Council to approve, and it'll be a reimbursable from a DAR development. And if you want to have a quick, background of what the services are going to be and what you're expecting to see from them, both Carrie and Mike are here.
Are you looking for
Mike, why don't you go ahead and just kind of give a
Quick overview.
brief summary.
Quick.
All right.
Carrie,
As
give it over
Carrie
to
did
Carrie.
last presentation, I'll have her do that.
There you go.
Just real quickly, and you'll recall that we had assembled a team of 4 consulting groups, a number of which had already worked with the city in some capacity, and then adding ourselves really as the project oversight and manager. We've broken it into 2 phases. The first is really kind of getting the foundation set for where we go with the planning, and that's to determine what the existing conditions are out there. And you have it in the report. We're looking at existing land use, current zoning, current transportation and circulation out there. Certainly, from an environmental perspective, we're going to be looking at an ecological inventory of what's out there. Any existing community facilities that may or are being contemplated currently out in that area. And then also looking at the demographics and a quick kind of market overview of the project. And this will be done by all of us. I've identified in the proposal which consultant would be primarily responsible. Alfred Benish would be looking at the traffic and the transportation. Hay and Associates is going to be looking at the ecological and the environmental elements of it. ERS would be looking at any rail component or that interrelationship between the rail facilities out there and the land use, and then we would be looking at it from the land use and kind of comprehensive overview perspective. So once we're done with all of that, we will prepare what we're calling an existing conditions report. And that's basically the summary of where we are today, and that gets us going then for phase 2, which is a presentation to you folks in the Planning and Zoning Commission to say, here's what we found, here's what we know, in a much greater level of detail than what maybe we have for the current comprehensive plan. This is really getting down to a much more definitive evaluation of that area. Certainly with the types of proposals you've seen come through here in the past several months, and the magnitude of some of those projects, we strongly concur with the city that now is a good time to be looking at these things so that we are set up for success going forward with the development of this area. So we're going to look at that existing conditions report, and then we're going to go out to the community and do whatever we determine at that point in terms of community outreach. If that's a number of public forums, if we do, we kind of take it out to the people and tell them and solicit their ideas and what their concerns and input would be for the development of that area and for the future of that area. We want them to feel a part of this process. It's their community as well. So getting them involved early on in the planning part of the process is strongly recommended. From that input, from the council, from the Planning and Zoning Commission, and from those forums that we're going to have with the public and other key stakeholders, emergency service providers, school district, the county's involvement, township, all of those folks that have a stake in the development of this area, we want them to be in, again, at the very early level. We're going to prepare that initial draft. And the elements that we're suggesting should be included are to incorporate a community vision for this area. There's going to be a land use plan, which is pretty understandable to everybody. It's going to have the colors and what areas are best used, highest and best use type of thing. Transportation and circulation plan, natural resources and sustainability plan, community facilities and community character. What do we want this area to look like? What do we want people to see when they drive through and by our community? And then implementation strategies and funding recommendations. We want this to be a document that's viable, that's dynamic, and that allows you the opportunity to actually use it. And not that it just be a nice document that sits on a shelf and collects dust. We want you to be able to use it on a daily basis to direct and shape the future of that area. We're going to take it to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We're going to have workshops there, potentially make some revisions, and then bring it back to you folks, have the public hearing, and ultimately hand over that document to you to shape that area. Yes?
You'll be working with the state about as far as like I-55 with the interchange?
Absolutely.
And with Liliana?
Absolutely. They are one of the most critical stakeholders to this process, because we can plan what we want to for that area, but if we don't have the infrastructure and the access necessary to make that happen, doesn't matter what color we color it. We need to have all of those pieces fitting together. That's why we actually chose Alfred Benish as the transportation consultant. They have been intimately involved with IDOT in the design of those two interchange areas, and then are also very familiar with the Ileana process and how that may or may not affect us. So We feel really good about having them on the team. They are very, very knowledgeable about that, which helps us to kind of gain that audience for discussion with IDOT as well.
Your document, you list standard rates for your services. We really don't have any information on what your partners are charging. Do we have any idea what this total cost is going to be here?
I expected we probably would get that, that question, but my understanding is that there will be separate agreements with each of those.
You approved Benish about, I think, 2 meetings ago, their standard rates. Hay Associates, we approved them over like a year ago for them to do all the environmentals out there with their standard rates. So we already have those. This project is put around the table with the DAR. This project is $75,000 to $100,000. Cost that much at the end of the day. And the reason we don't have a not to exceed on this is you have a lot of moving parts out there that possibly, once you get more information, it could be more study would have to get done. And then working with IDOT especially, it could be a little bit more intense work to get that interchange sort of to the level that it's planned. So I told the DAR, this is one of those where they'll be monitoring. I mean, all their fees and everything will be managed. Colby and Kim will be watching over this along with the interim manager coming in. So it isn't like they have a open checkbook that DAR will pay for everything. And that's why they met with the DAR and went over it all with them, tell them how the process will work. And that's why there's phases. So as everything goes, they'll get their funding as they move along. But they're fully aware this could be a $75,000 to $100,000 fee at the end of the day. But they'll be getting paid every month as the project goes on.
Anybody have any other questions about this item at this time?
One of the key components, which isn't in there, but as this project is moving forward with all the new transportation dollars that are being proposed for the state of Illinois and the country, as they get through probably about a third of this project, I think a lot of that information about the transportation need for freight out here and logistics is going to be great information to go after those fast lane grants, Tiger grants, anything that we need in regards to going after some of that funding from the feds. So that's another key component of why this is sort of good to get this started now, because in about 3 to 6 months there will be probably federal dollars that are going to be put out there for transportation, that this will fit right into those federal dollars.
Just to follow up on what Tony's saying, the best way you can get those dollars is to show up with a plan and say, we have thought about this and we're serious, and that puts us at the head of the pack then in terms of evaluation and what they weigh. This isn't just a win for us. We're planning on this, we're committed to this, and they pay attention to those types of things. So the timing is absolutely key.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on. We have several items.
Yeah. So you want to move this to council? Okay, approve.
I need a motion to approve the West Side Sub-Area Study Proposal as submitted by Choppy Design Associates.
I'll make it.
I'll second. Motion and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Number 11.
11 and 12, they're tied together. The intergovernmental agreement requires a resolution once you approve it for CMAQ for the downtown study. I know I'm going to talk fast on this one. This is a study that we applied for technical assistance through CMAQ to assist us with corridor planning for Route 53 and 102. This is the actual document. Our commitment is $10,000. The first payment is due next budget year at $5,000. But then we're going to be getting their technical assistants, their planners, and research analysts to come down here, hold stakeholder meetings, start talking about what could our downtown and corridor planning 53, 102 could look like. So we're spending dollars out there in Ridgeport, but we also need to take care of your core, which is your downtown and your Route 53, 102. So I think this is a great project. Carrie is going to be helping with this project in regards to, along with Kobe. And the new interim manager has actually done a couple of these technical assistance programs with CMAQ, so he's fully aware of this project. So I would recommend to move this forward, the intergovernmental agreement, along with the resolution to City Council.
And council approved the 5,000 already?
No, this is what the intergovernmental agreement will approve. It'll be next year's budget.
Next year's budget.
I told them if we're going to approve anything tonight, we won't be able to pay you until this next year's budget. We didn't have any budget.
Is that our total commitment to this?
10,000 is our total commitment. Yes.
Any other questions about these two items? Looking for a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the city of Chicago and the Metropolitan Agency for the planning of the city of Wilmington, for the city of Wilmington downtown plan.
And the resolution.
Number 12. Yeah, and number 12, approve the resolution 2016-12. A resolution to accept the planning assistance services delivered by the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for the planning. Looking for a motion?
Make it.
Okay, we got a motion. Can we get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on these two items? All in favor? Aye. All right. Information on budget for part-time police record clerk.
Yeah, the chief presented the committee that there's an opening, the part-time clerk resigned, and he would like to move forward with advertising for the part-time clerk. And the original part-time clerk's hours were up to 25 hours, because it's part-time. But the committee wanted everybody in the council to move forward. I did see the job description prepared by the police department. It's really a nice job description now. It really outlines what are the duties, and the last one was about 1 page. So I think the administrative assistant over there, Teresa, and the chief putting that together, I think I would recommend allow him to go advertise for the part-time police clerk if they need it. With and Teresa goes on vacation, anything happening, they need someone help still. So I do know that we need to, once we get to the point of appoint somebody. Kim's looked at some numbers. I don't know if she's ready to say if she's comfortable enough with 25 hours, or if it's going to be 20. Yeah, it's in the budget.
Yeah.
So
We budgeted, and I spoke with Chief about this as well. And in this current year's budget, there is money there because we didn't replace officers that left as quickly as we had budgeted for them to be replaced. So we can probably make it work at this point. If we were to hire somebody in the next 2 weeks to the month, we would be able to get through this fiscal year at 25 hours.
And that's what he's recommending, because they were falling behind with 12, 14 hours a week.
Basically, there's no request for a recommendation on here.
No, it's just information. It's just information. But you know, someone resigned, and we're looking to be advertising.
Are you advertising, Chief?
We're ready to advertise.
Okay. All right. All right, thank you. Let's get on with 14. Review the chicken ordinance.
And Mr. Urban, we get an ordinance finally drafted. Good time.
Thank you, John.
You all got copies. I don't think anybody's actually been able to review it much. Just got it out today. So the reason it was on the agenda was just to keep it, I think Alderman Hall one, Larry Hall one, keep this thing sort of moving forward. Wait for another 2-3 weeks and we see an ordinance. So for tonight, it's the first draft I'm looking at.
Now, at the meeting too, we talked about doing a 1-year probation type thing.
Okay.
Section 3 provides for a sunset provision, which basically says that this ordinance and all rights granted herein to the keeping of chickens expires 1 year after the effective date of the ordinance. So if it's not working out, then you can just let it lapse. Or if you want to make some changes, you can make some changes. Or if you want to adopt it whole again, you can adopt it and not have a sunset provision in it. So this is sort of a way of doing that. And it would take away any sort of grandfathered rights in keeping the chickens.
Now, if we was to do that, if council would agree to that, we could fine tune the ordinance throughout the year. Am I correct there, Chief?
For the most part.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I know, but the thing I'm going at right now is winter's coming, this weekend's gonna be getting down in the 30s for a high. And, you know, maybe we need to try to get those chickens closer to where they live at, instead of driving
What you're looking for is a provision of the resident that's already come forth before you, that's what you're.
Right, yes.
I mean, you really haven't even determined on here, I noticed, how many chickens you're gonna allow.
Yeah, that's the blank right now.
Under item B, limit the number of hens permitted. I know typically a lot of them, I know they have 12, but a lot of the ordinances I've looked at have said 6.
Some of the ones at the committee meeting, they have no limit also.
Yeah.
And we discussed that at the committee meeting about space of the coop that would require for the coop, which would also limit how many you could have by the size of your yard.
So many square feet per chicken for the coop, and so many square feet for the.
Where, based on the size of your yard, you could actually leave it blank because your yard would determine just how many you could.
I mean, I understand the need for the resident to have chickens, but I think we only have a first reading under the agenda, and we don't have a chicken ordinance in place.
I've seen us come to council and pass something on the first reading.
Oh, I have too, but I think, and I'm not arguing that point.
I'd like to make one, I have a question on H before we get into this too deep, because time's running out. I'm either not reading it correctly or something's not right.
What section?
H on the last,
Okay.
H.
All right.
The third line, it says, okay, structures housing hens, including any coop, pens, coops, buildings, or enclosures shall be removed when no longer keeping chickens, upon the resident no longer occupying the property, or upon a violation of this chapter, chickens having been revoked.
Yeah, the chickens haven't been revoked. Should not be in there.
Okay,
So, you know, this is a draft.
and I understand,
There's quite a bit here that needs to be looked at. For instance, there's no limit on hens here. There should be, well, there's a space for the number of hens.
And we asked you,
Yeah, there's no
in
number
all
there.
fairness, we asked you to get a draft together, and that's what we at council or committee asked you to do.
Right, and this is basically bare bones in regards to what the committee has talked about.
Exactly.
For instance, there's other things to consider, such as the structures themselves, the coops. You want them to be architecturally similar to the house itself, or I don't know what you want to do. So, but there's a lot of different criteria. You know, size of the coop, size of the run, for the council to give consideration.
Hey, John, do we have something in here, I haven't had a chance to read it, the whole thing, as far as when it's all done, somebody to inspect it?
I think there's a provision in here in regards to.
That should fall under the permit.
The structures requirements. Under E, about the fifth line down, coops shall be constructed to specifications as approved by the building department. And there's some requirements there. So I think that what the council or the committee had talked about was a procedure whereby this is something that you don't need to get a permit or a license for. It's something that you can do under the ordinance, and it would be a situation where it would be complaint-based if there was some sort of problem with keeping the chickens at a particular residence. So. But once again, you know, this is just a draft and something for further consideration.
I think you did a good job.
Yeah.
So I guess if anybody has any concerns with that one, to give to Kirby and Alderman Evans. See, I've got on the chair.
Okay, thanks for the review. Last item, update on the city website by
Anne Marie, would you mind? Okay, let's do that, what we got. And what I'll do is I'll put it in the narrative report too, so we'll bring the council meeting next time.
Okay. Anything else coming before this committee? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.